We knew Talanoa Hufanga was back. Moments ago, we found out Dre Greenlaw is now coming back. And does that return mean the return of the great Fred Warner? We'll talk about it all in a full Thursday Night Football preview on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. What is good, everybody? Welcome to a Thursday Night Football preview here on the Gold Standard Podcast of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He's Levin Black. Levin, I am so freaking excited. We just got news. Dre Greenlaw is going to make his season debut for the San Francisco 49ers tonight. I know what you're saying. His snaps are going to be reduced, and he's coming off an injury. I don't care. This is awesome news for the 49ers. This is a huge lift going into the game.
I will be curious to see how many snaps he does get. Is this something where he just comes in for a few special packages and plays 10 snaps? Or is this something where he can play even half the game? Because even if he's reduced, newsflash, every single snap he plays is an improvement over Campbell.
Yeah, I get it. Look, I understand people that are rational, and I'm right there with you. I don't think we're getting prime Dre Greenlaw. I don't care, okay? This defense has lacked juice. Hufanga's return helped them look better. I know they were playing the Bears, but he definitely helped. Now, if Greenlaw is coming back, I think that's going to be a great thing for this team. I think the physicality that he brings is going to be, I think guys like D Winners are going to be like, oh my God, like this is the level. This is what it usually looks like around here. I think it's going to be big. I really do.
I hope so. Because, I mean, they're not just on their last leg. They're on like their last toe. They can't afford any mistakes. Like, They have to win out, and even then, there's a chance they would lose a tiebreaker. So they can't afford anything to happen and drop another game. They have to win this game, and in my opinion, they have to win this game where they look like themselves to get that belief kind of fully entrenched. I think last week they looked like themselves, but what have we had this mini week? We've had Deebo Samuel, a captain, speaking out selfishly about himself. So I don't think that whole locker room is fully turned around to believing again. So I think winning this game and winning it convincingly, looking like themselves, I think gets everybody back in line.
I think it's going to be interesting. You know, the day started, I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning. I look at my phone and I see Adam Schefter says Isaac Arendo says he's going to play. Now Dre Greenlaw says he's going to play. There's a chance Nick Bosa plays, and maybe we get vintage Deebo Samuel tonight. You know, I'm feeling a little Lord of the Ringsy today, Levin. Not gonna lie.
Good knuckles for 8. And Rohan will answer.
I feel like the 49ers are mustering the Rohirrim here a bit. They are not going quietly into this good night, Levin. They are mustering the forces for one final run at this thing.
All I heard is that you woke up at 7 a.m. and that's the time I was going to bed. No, this is very much, like I said, it does have that feeling of if they can get this win, it's the snowball effect. Everybody's coming back. They start to look like themselves. Everybody starts to believe. Like I said on Sunday in the Instant Reacts, I'm trying not to get my hopes up until I see what this game does, because they don't have any room for error. They are wild card at best, in my opinion. They're not getting 3 games on Seattle, and that's what it would take for them to win the division. So it is wild card at best, and they have to win out. If they win this game and everybody's back, they got to be entering that locker room saying, we're here, it's us, we can easily win the last 3 games, and then once we get in the playoffs, we're not worried. We have more experience there than any other NFC team.
You know, I threw up a quick poll just before we started on the GSN 49ers Twitter handle. What do you think Dre Greenlaw is going to do tonight? How much will he help? 42% of people say he'll help a ton. 21% say not much at all, and 37% say he'll only help emotionally. What would you answer to this poll, Levin?
One that doesn't exist.
Well,
He's going to help a lot emotionally, and then he'll help some for his play. So you don't really have that option that you have not much at all, only emotionally. I would say that it's somewhere in between not much at all and a ton, plus the emotional
why
boost.
can't you just pick one of the options?
Because
Why
he didn't give a good option.
Pick one.
That's not my fault. It's if I had to pick amongst the ones you have, it's the third one, only emotionally. I don't think he'll be playing a ton of snaps, and I don't think he's going to be looking like himself, but he'll be better than Campbell. So there will be help from his play on the field, but it's going to be more about a massive emotional boost.
What do you think he does for Fred Warner? I think that could be an underrated thing. Like, there's a comfort there with Fred and Dre Greenlaw. We know that Fred hasn't looked the same since he fractured the ankle in week 4. I think that it's possible that there could just be a little boost there just because Fred, maybe he won't, even if it's only in his head, right? Because I do think there are a couple times where he tried to do too much this year. Maybe if Greenlaw is back, he doesn't feel that, and he just handles his responsibilities better instead of stretching himself too thin.
Possible, but I doubt it. I think it's just Fred Warner is playing injured, and he's not going to look like Fred Warner. He doesn't look bad. He just doesn't look like a massive difference maker, and that's what the defense is needed. This defense has been predicated on Fred Warner is ridiculous and Nick Bosa is ridiculous. Well, Nick Bosa has been hurt and Fred Warner is playing hurt. So that's a big part of the issues on defense. Look, I don't think Fred Warner is – I think it's overblown how bad he's been. He's just had such a great start to the season that everybody's going, well, why isn't he doing that? It's like, do you know how rare it is for a middle linebacker to be causing turnovers constantly? Like, that shouldn't be the expectation.
Every friggin' possession, it felt like Fred Warner was doing something to tilt the game in the 49ers' favor early in the season. Just as we are in Thursday Night Football preview mode here, the injury update, the injury report going into the game. No Ben Barch, no Malik Mustafa, which stinks because I really would have liked to see him and Hufanga play together again. No Trent Williams in the game. That could be interesting given some of the Rams pass rushers. Nick Bosa is questionable, Levin. Questionable. They have not ruled him out. The past couple of weeks, it's been like very, very late when they actually rule him out. Now, they only had a walkthrough yesterday, but I believe he was listed as limited in the walkthrough, as I'm just quickly trying to check this. Yeah, limited participation. You think we see Nick Bosa back tonight?
If we do, I think it would be kind of like a D Ford type role where it's, okay, it's 3rd and long. Here's your play. You know what I mean? I would doubt that he ends up playing, his normal amount. He's not going to be in on early downs a whole heck of a lot, in my opinion. For me, I think he probably plays because it is put up or shut up time. They can't afford any more losses. This is the Rams. It's a short week, so you need the depth on the defensive line because you're more tired from the previous week. I think he plays, but he ends up playing more as like a situational pass rusher.
And I'm fascinated to see, what do the 49ers do? Do they go traditional and put Leonard Floyd on one side, Nick Bosa on the other? Kyle Posey pointed out that Nick Sorensen had started putting them both on the same side, just to throw a different look at people. And you may not know this, Levin. Leonard Floyd has 5.5 sacks in his last 4 games. He has quietly creeped back up towards that. He's at 8.5 right now. That 9-10 sack number that we all said, look what he's going to get. He's back there now. Maybe, he got banged up in the preseason. Maybe it took him a little while to get healthy. And this is closer to the level that we can expect from Leonard Floyd the rest of the way. If they can get pressure on Stafford, it's going to make a huge difference. The Rams were not sacked at all last week when they torched the Buffalo Bills for 44 points. They can get pressure on Stafford. We know potentially he will give you the opportunity to take the ball away a couple of times if Bosa can go at all again tonight. I mean, we could be looking potentially at Hufanga back, Greenlaw back, Bosa back. Like, Holy crap, this team has a lot of good players.
Yeah. I do wonder whether a lot of Floyd's struggles early were due to what he was being asked to do. Defensive line is more than, oh, get up the field. I don't know that it's a coincidence. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. It makes me wonder whether there's something real there that the moment Nick Bosa went down, suddenly he went off. I wonder if he was asked to be more disciplined and told, don't just fly up the field. You need to stay in your lane. You have these gap responsibilities and things like that. And that affected him because he's never been much of a run defender. He's always been I'm going to get up the field and get to the quarterback. And maybe with Nick Bosa out, they told him the leash is off. Go get the quarterback because we got nobody else that can do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Just do whatever you want out there, Leonard. We're screwed either way. I have no idea. I'm fascinated to see what the defense looks like tonight. The Rams are coming off. Obviously, it's a short week for them. They're coming off a very emotional and taxing game against the Buffalo Bills. Does that work in the 49ers' favor? I know the Rams have been banged up for a lot of the year, so some of the numbers are skewed, but they only put up 23 points a game on the season. Like, yes, they scored 44 last week, but they have not been 44 points a week every week. Like, this has not been that sort of Rams team. So the question is, do you expect the kind of offense that can put up 44 from them, or do you expect an offense that's more in the 20 to 25 points range?
I don't think that it will be high scoring. It's Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these teams rely on a head coach that can watch film and make a brand new scheme for each game. That's hard to do for Thursday games. So I think the offenses will probably struggle in this game. It should be mentioned, though, that the Rams offense was on the field for 39 minutes in that game. So they got to be on the field a lot, which means that defense is pretty well rested. So that will be an interesting thing to track. Does their defense hold up and not get tired because they were on the field for such a little bit amount of time last week?
Yeah, so I was like, okay, here we go. 42-point game. That Rams defense is going to be exhausted. And I looked, and the Bills ran like 50-something plays. Like, it wasn't a crazy amount of plays that Buffalo ran. So I was a little bummed about that. For what it's worth, the over-under for this game is 48.5 points. Would you take the over or would you take the under, Levin?
I'll take the under. I think, it's Thursday. Taking the under is the better bet pretty much every time. I don't know what it is now. I know at some point last year they had said since Thursday games in inception, it was something like 70% of the unders hit. It's hard to make a new offensive scheme in essentially 2 days of practice.
I think I'm going to go with the over. You know what? I think we're going to see some fireworks tonight. Why not? I'll be a little different. I'll predict fireworks. We've seen it before on a Thursday night. Remember that color rush game with Brian Hoyer and Jared Goff where they just went nuts and scored like every friggin' possession? Maybe we get one of those tonight. I'll be a little different. I'll take the over. If you want to take the over or any bet this week, please do it with BetUS. You can receive 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit up to $2,000. Just use code YouTube150. That's code YouTube150. BetUS has 24/7 personalized service every single day of the year. They have live wagering on all major games, and they give you 10%. They give you 10% back on your net losses twice a year. Now, we have not been losing much. Last week, Michelle and I had a rough week. We only had really one bet that we got correct. But for the most part, we've been pretty good with our bets. And I will have some of those for you a little bit later in the show. What do you expect from the 49ers offense in this one, Levin? Because part of the reason that I think they scored so many points against the Bears is because, and Rich Madrid pointed this out, they went back to play action. That's the Shanahan bread and butter. Last week, Brock had 12 play action pass attempts, or I should say 11 attempts, 12 play action dropbacks. Before that, he had been averaging just 7.1 play action dropbacks per game and just 5.5 play action attempts per game. Shanahan went back to his bread and butter, and that's exactly what he should do on a short week Thursday night game against a coach that knows him well.
Yeah, and it wasn't just play action, but it was a lot of play action bootlegs where Brock didn't stay in the pocket. He moved away from that offensive line that can't hold up, moved a lot to the right side, away from where Trent Williams is missing. It makes sense for them to continue that. The question is, can they establish the run first? Because that's why it was so effective, in my opinion. It's because they ran the ball early and it was effective, so the defense had to honor it, and then the play action came in. So can they establish that run game or not? Because if they don't establish the run game early, I don't think the defense has to respect it, and so that they're not going to bite on that play action.
I think play action works even if you're not running the ball well. I think they should do it continually. Keep doing it, man. I think we liked what we saw from Brock last week because it was the easy button, right? How many times did Brock drop back last week, hit the top of his drop, and the ball's coming out? Like, yes, that's what we want to see. And I feel like more often than not, when Shanahan does play action, his first read is usually open.
Yeah, that's, I mean, there has been criticism there for Brock this year that he has been missing open guys. Did they change the order of his reads to get to something else? I don't know. I know Debo was not at the top of his reads, and I think that is a big part of it because I think Debo has been the first look in this offense for the last few years. And if you say, look, Debo's not getting open, let's look at him third or fourth, then that allows you to get to these spend more time looking at these other guys and see what's developing. You're not hurrying back to your third or fourth read to see if it's open 15, 20 yards down the field. You're able to look at that sooner and see it develop rather than coming to it late. Is that part of why we saw the offense take off?
This is what I want to see. Do I want to see a Debo game? Because Debo's mad. He's mad now, and it could be a Debo game. Or do we want to see what we saw last week, which was Debo was the side dish. He wasn't the main course. He was the side dish, right? Jennings, Kittle, Garendo, they were the meat and potatoes, so to speak. They were the main focus, and Debo was a nice to have. And honestly, at this point, I feel like that's what the 49ers offense should be, especially when you consider that Juwan Jennings cooked the Rams for 170 yards and 3 touchdowns earlier this season.
I think you adjust to what the defense does. If the Rams come out and say, we're not going to let Kittle go off, and they're covering him with DBs and a linebacker or a linebacker with a safety over the top, and they're just not going to allow Kittle to get going, then you have to adjust to that. You have to say, okay, let's look to the outside a little bit more. What is Debo doing? What is Jennings doing? I don't believe in the, well, we're going to get this guy the ball. And I think that's one of the things that I have been frustrated by with Kyle Shanahan is that it's clear that a lot of games he goes in and says, it's that guy's game. And it's like, well, yeah, but if the defense decides to take that away from you, adjust off of that quicker. But he doesn't. He sticks to it. He's stubborn about it. And we've seen a lot of games where he says, it's a Debo game. We're going to Debo. And the defense is just crashing down every single time so that none of these slants and screens work for Debo. I want to see this offense be willing to adjust on the fly more. And if that means that they go to Debo more, because at some point, if Debo keeps putting up 20 yards per game, the defenses are going to say, okay, you can stay over there. We're not worried about you.
I feel like the only games where he's stubborn, where he's force feeding somebody, are the Debo games. I don't recall a game ever where it was like, God, Kyle's just throwing at George Kittle too much. He's forcing the ball. No. I never remember that. I feel like it's only with Debo that he does that. Antonio says, all I want to see is Kittle, Kittle, Kittle. I'm actually interested to see what the Rams do defensively in this game. Do they bring their safeties down closer to the box and say, you're not going to run, and we're not letting you get these short crap to Debo Samuel? They may do that, in which case the Niners would have to look to Juwan Jennings and Kittle and somebody else. Or do they say, you know what? Debo hasn't done anything this year, and we don't care about Garendo. Brock got in a rhythm last week. We're not going to allow that. We're going to keep our safeties back and and have lighter boxes and force you to earn it in the run against our young defensive line, and then we'll adjust. But you're going to have to show us that you can do it.
Give me the second one. That's what, if I'm the Rams, that's what I'm doing. I say I'm going to stay back in 2 deep high safety and take away those deeper passes. And it's either going to be a Debo game or we're daring you to run, because you're either trusting a rookie in Garindo, who's coming off an injury,
Mhm.
or you're trusting Debo, who has had as bad of a year as he's ever had in his career. So take away the others. Take away Jennings. Take away Kittle. Don't allow them to have the deep shots that get them going, and say, okay, you're going to have a methodical game where you're just constantly converting on third down, and you're going to have to convert with either a rookie or a player who's been terrible for the past month.
There's one other aspect of this game that we haven't touched on, Levin, and I hate that we have to do it. Well, before we get to that, though, I want to throw up this super chat from Khan, JKJ. Thank you so much for the generous donation. Khan says, I would like to see Pearsall in a Debo-type role. He had 1 carry for 30 yards earlier this year, and he wasn't even supposed to get that carry. He actually lined up in the wrong spot, and he ended up getting it. That was against Seattle, I believe, and it ended up working out. I would love to see more Pearsall. I think we've all would love to see more Pearsall, but it hasn't been happening.
You said his name wrong. For one, it's Khan JKJ.
Solid. Respect.
I would like to see Pearsall get a bigger role, though. I've been calling for that for pretty much since he got healthy.
There's one other aspect to this game that we haven't touched on. Weather. It's expected to be rainy and windy tonight at Levi's, Levin. And and everybody watching and listening knows 13 don't do well in the rain, okay? He's a house cat. Let's just call it like it is. We saw it in the snow. We've seen it in the rain. He fumbles the ball. It's not good. How much of weather would be a factor for you? And if you're Kyle Shanahan, do you have to take that into account when you're calling these plays and game planning?
I don't think that you can. Your quarterback has to be able to do it. You can't say, oh, our quarterback is not very good in the rain, so we're just going to artificially run the ball and take it out of. No, you got to play your offense. You got to play what scheme you think will work best against that defense. And if Brock can't do it, then Brock can't do it. That's one of those where it's up to the player to execute. That's one that Kyle can say he just didn't execute, and I would be okay.
See, but I don't know. I could see people in the instant reaction show saying, Brock's not good in the rain. Why are you doing these 7-step drops? Why are you doing that? Why isn't he throwing shorter? I feel like if it doesn't work, we'll be able to find a criticism for Kyle.
Well, I mean, that's usually the case. If something doesn't work, you can always find a criticism, whether that's Kyle Shanahan football or anything else in life. You can always find criticism when it doesn't work. But it's not about hindsight is 2020. It's about in the moment, what is the best choice? And to me, the best choice is not limiting your offense. I think it's different if it's crazy, snowy, and all that, because I think rain is better than snow. Snow is harder. The ground is harder. Players are a lot slower in snow than in rain. Rain, yes, slows you down from regular, but snow means it's cold, so the ground is hard. It's hard to dig in. It's hard to truly get a push. And so everything just struggles. The offensive line struggles more. The wide receivers can't cut as well. In the rain, yes, it's affected, but it's not as big of a deal. So I'm not changing my offense for rain. I might change my offense for snow.
Jabroni says, Brock, please don't double pump. We did see a nice pump fake and a pass to Kittle last week. Actually, a very nice play for Brock Purdy last week. Randy Galella, YouTube channel member, says, I'm in Santa Clara now. Sun is out. Hope it lasts. Thank you, Randy. And thank you to all our YouTube channel members. We appreciate everybody supporting the show. If you want to do that, it's less than $3 a month. You get custom emojis. You get membership badges. You get priority comment response. And if you do the $4 a month plan, you get early access to 49ers in 5 every single morning as well. Lee Ving, nice Seinfeld reference. Blame it on the rain. Appreciate
Seinfeld reference? No.
Yes.
Milli Vanilli reference that Seinfeld then referenced.
Who cares about Milli Vanilli? In my book,
that's where it comes from.
Okay. To me, it's one of the fictional movies of Seinfeld, which has some of the best fictional movie titles of any TV show. I want to see, if it does rain, hey, Brock, show us something here, right? You have not exactly balled out in your contract year. If he has a nice game in the rain in a must-win situation with the season on the line, I do think that will quiet a lot of the criticism of him. And I don't care what he says. I don't care what anybody says. He's heard it.
I mean, they hear everything. They can say they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They hear everything.
Yes,
because even if there's somebody that's not on social media, they have family members that are. And they say, somebody was saying this, it all comes out. Or they're in the locker room and somebody around them is talking about, did you see that? They know. They know what's being said. Look, Brock has to know what it is, that's his reputation. It's still early. He could still change that reputation. Is it true? It certainly looks like there is something there, that he does struggle. And it does there's a logical reason for it that I've talked about before. He has small hands, and quarterbacks who have small hands are statistically worse. They do have a bigger drop when you're talking about their career norm. And then in the rain, there's a bigger drop based on size of hand. It does factor in. I mean, you think about, I don't know if you've ever held an NFL football, but if you hold an NFL football.
Yes, I've held an NFL football.
I'm talking about for everybody.
All right.
Your hands have to be a certain size to get a good grip on it. And if they're smaller than that, and the average person's hands are smaller than that, that's why you see quarterbacks who are 6'2", 3, 4, and 5. It's because their hands, the bigger they are, the better that you can grip that football. And the cutoff is usually right around 10 inches. Your hand length needs to be about 10 inches from thumb to pinky in order to be able to grip an NFL football well. And he is right at that. And that's why a lot of your smaller quarterbacks have struggled in the rain, and it's because their hand size, hand size correlates, isn't always the case, but correlates to your height.
A lot of people in the chat are saying he has the same hand size as Patrick Mahomes, who, of course, doesn't struggle in any type of weather.
There's a reason why it's correlations, and it's why it's a bigger data set, because they are generalities. They are not necessarily facts for every single quarterback.
Are you saying that Patrick Mahomes is an outlier?
Yeah, imagine that.
Wedge Antilles, enough about the damn hands. Mahomes has the same size hands as Brock Purdy. Stop with the effing hands. Stop talking about the sun, Levin.
There is articles out there that you can go read that includes the data that hand size does matter.
Whether it's hand size, whatever it is, it's clear that Brock struggles. I'll be interested to see if it is raining. Does he come out with the glove? We've seen him come out with the glove before. Then he took the glove off during the game. Figure it out, man. I don't care what you got to do. Get Stickum on there. Do it, okay? We need you tonight. We need it tonight. They got to win this game. If they win, they go to 7-7. That would tie them with the Rams in the division at 7-7, although the Rams would have the tiebreaker because I believe they have the better division record. But still, you're desperate. The 49ers know there was a lot of talk about desperation last week, right? They're desperate. You got to play with desperation, all of that stuff. And I thought Kyle had the perfect message at the podium on Sunday after the win. He said, yeah, this is great, but it doesn't mean anything if we don't win on Thursday night. And he's 1,000% right. You get this win, you go to 7-7, you even your record, you get a little bit extra rest, and then you get to sit back on Sunday and see what unfolds. 49ers would put themselves in the best possible position to do all they could to squeak into the playoffs at the end of the year.
They have no room for error. And I do want to talk about the other side of the ball, because I think there's an interesting debate there. Who do you worry about when you're talking about the Niners defense versus the Rams offense? Do you keep Lenore on Kupp? Kupp plays in the slot a lot, so it'd make a lot of sense. Or do you just say, we're going to play our players where they play, and whether Kupp is lined up versus Lenore or not, we don't care. We don't care who's lined up against Puka. We're just going to play them honestly. Because that's how the Niners defense usually does it. They don't tend to have somebody shadow. What I'm worried about is that allows them to get Kupp or Puka on the third corner, which for the Niners would be outside. It would be, Yadam or whoever they go with. So it's an interesting thing. Like, to me, I want my top two corners. I want Ward and Lenore on those two wide receivers every single play.
Here's what I don't want. I don't want Diamador Lenore just taking whoever happens to line up on his side. Sean McVay is too smart. He'll put the receivers in the best position. If I'm the Niners, and I hope that Lenore speaks up, and I hope he went to Nick Sorensen or Brandon Staley, whoever happens to actually be calling the defense, which the streets are saying that last week that was Brandon Staley. Who knows? but I want Lenore on Puka. Cooper Kupp is good. He's not the same. Okay. Cooper Kupp doesn't go down the field like he used to. 67% of Cooper Kupp's targets this year have been under 10 air yards. I don't need Deommodore Lenoir to guard him. Deommodore Lenoir has to go to Puka. He is the man for them. He is the guy in crunch time that Stafford likes to look at first. Charvarius Ward, Bernardo Green, you can handle Cooper Kupp. Lenoir is the guy you just paid, right? He's the guy you basically picked between Ward and Lenoir, and you said, this is the guy that's going to be our number one corner going forward. So this is why you have one of those guys. This is why you pay that guy. It's for games like this. Lenoir on Puka all night long.
It's probably not a coincidence that the Rams offense has been a heck of a lot worse when Puka is out, but the Rams offense had a much lower, less significant drop when Kupp has been out. And that's been the case the last 2 years.
They were going to trade Cooper Kupp this year. They were stopping him.
Yeah. It's clear that Kupp is not prime Kupp anymore. He's still a good wide receiver. He's not the difference maker, at least not consistently. You know, there was a period there where it was every single game he was going to get 10 catches. It didn't matter what you did.
Mm-hmm.
I will say these short passes to him, that's normal. That's his career. He gets a lot of short. He's excellent out of the slot on slants and short routes.
Great, but I don't want to use Lenoir for that. Like, we got other corners that can deal with that. Puka's the guy. He's hard to bring down to. That's the other thing. Lenoir is a more physical tackler. He's probably the most physical tackler that the Niners have at corner. I want him on Puka Nacua for sure. I mean, some of those catches, that sideline catch that Nacua had last week against Buffalo, my God, the man is a menace, okay? He is a menace, and I would much rather see Cooper Kupp or Tutu Atwell have to beat the 49ers than Puka Nacua. And for the record, Tutu Atwell did beat the 49ers earlier this year because he was the best guy that the Rams had, and he cooked them all game long. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'll live with that. What I can't live with is 10, 11 catches for Puka Nacua for 150 yards. No.
It's what did the Niners do against the Rams when Kupp was in his prime?
They would let Kupp go nuts, and nobody else got anything. Was really what happened.
So do you do that with Puka? You say, all right, we're going to take away Kupp and everybody else, and Puka can go have his 10 catches for 140 yards, and that's all they're going to do.
I don't think that Kupp is at that level anymore. Like, I don't think that you have to really focus in on stopping Cooper.
But they were doing that. They were letting Kupp do whatever he wanted when their second wide receiver was Van Jefferson. You know what I mean? So like that's not anything. Clearly their second wide receiver, which is Kupp, is better than the second wide receivers that Kupp has had in his career.
Right.
So do you say we're going to keep that strategy? We're just swapping Puka for Kupp now because Puka's the better wide receiver.
I don't know. He might be so good that if you do that, he's good enough to kick your ass. Especially with the way Stafford is throwing the ball. I went and watched the JT O'Sullivan quarterback breakdown of Matthew Stafford. Oh my God, Levin. He's basically throwing with the anticipation like Brock does, and he's throwing ropes all over the field to really good wide receivers with an incredible scheme and play caller. Like, he was on it last week. It was unreal. And he and Puka may be good enough to just be good enough on their own with the level that they're playing at right now.
Matt Stafford is the type of traditional quarterback that is, you got to get him off his spot. Mm-hmm. If you get him off his spot, his performance goes way down. He's not mobile. He's not that type of quarterback. If you can force him off his spot, you've got a chance. If he's able to just sit back there, he's going to pick you apart.
I will say, and I talked about this with Jake Ellenbogen yesterday, he's very difficult to sack, Stafford. Like, he doesn't run for any yards. Like, literally, his over-under for rushing yards in this game is 0.5. He does not cross the line of scrimmage. But he's very good at extending the play, and he can throw from any arm angle. So he's actually very difficult to get down for a sack. And he did it against Buffalo multiple times where he's able to move and just, he's firing ropes down the field. It's ridiculous. I had Stafford as the best quarterback in the NFC coming into the year, and I feel like I have been proven 1,000% right. And they're going to need to slow him down, because if they don't, he's good enough to put a team on his back, even if they can't run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a game that I'm sitting back in coverage. If you want to beat us with Kyron Williams, go for it.
Right. And do you think that the Niners' run defense it hasn't been good historically? We know that McVay likes to run the ball, but do you think that they will tonight?
I think they'll try. And like I said, I will live with getting beat by them running. You don't need the big plays. Stop the big plays. Big plays are massively important, I think, in road games. They take the crowd out of it. If you're trying to run the ball, I take my chances on stopping them doing that while dropping guys back. I take my chances having Greenlaw back, having a great safety and run defense in Hufanga. I take my chances in that.
Kyron Williams had 29 carries last week for 87 yards. That's just 3 yards per carry. He did get 2 touchdowns, had a couple of catches as well. So 31 total touches for Kyron Williams last week against Buffalo, 3.1 yards per touch. So the attempts are there. Like, McVay is not going away from it. We'll see how productive it could be. That's another reason why I really wish Malik Mustafa was the other safety with Talanoa Hufanga, but unfortunately, he's not going to be there. Do you think Tig Brown gets back in the starting lineup, or do you think they do go with tried and true to Sean Gibson next to Hufanga?
It's a good question. To me, I would try the Gibson first, because you've seen that pairing work well. That's the best safety play in a season the Niners have had was those two when Hufanga had his all-pro season. So I would probably go there first. If Gibson looks like a shell and looks like Father Time has caught him, then you go Brown. They can probably tell that in practice, I would say, too, by the way. If Gibson just does not look like he has it anymore, then it's going to be Brown, and I would take that as a sign that, yeah, they've seen it in practice, that he doesn't have it.
I'm searching Twitter frantically, trying to find word of Nick Bosa. Do you think we get word before the game, or is it a situation where if he plays, all of a sudden 97 just comes out of the locker room and they come onto the field with 57 and 97, and then it's like a friggin' wrestling match where you're like, oh my God, that's Stone Cold Steve Austin's music?
I think we will not know prior to the game. Why would you let it be known? The Rams have to change their defense, or their offensive line, change how they face the 49ers defense based upon Nick Bosa playing or not. If I'm the Niners and you know Nick Bosa is playing at this point, I send him out pregame and tell him, do a lot of grimacing.
You're going to make Nick Bosa earn the Oscar?
Yeah, like tell him, do a lot of grimacing, act like your hip hurts, so that they think, okay, it doesn't look like he's going to play. That didn't go well. Let's go ahead and plan for him not playing, and then all of a sudden he plays. And if you know that he's not going to play, fine. We're still going to dress you, and you're going to go out for pregame and try to act like you're healthy. And we will limit what you do so you don't hurt yourself in pregame, but you're still going to dress so that they don't know that you're not playing.
So basically, what I would do is, if he's going to play, send him out pregame like real quick, and then have him come off the field super fast. And then he could just finish doing the rest of his pregame at some other place in the stadium. And then all of a sudden, when you don't think he's going to play, bam, he comes out, he plays. We haven't seen Nick Bosa since the Seattle game. Wasn't there for Green Bay, wasn't there for Buffalo, wasn't there for Chicago. So this is around a month here we're talking, where Nick Bosa hasn't played. If he plays, do you think he'll be effective, or do you think it's kind of a Greenlaw situation where, it's just going to be kind of start and stop mostly?
No, I think he'll be effective. We saw him play through the injury and still be effective. It's a pain thing to me for him. Can he deal with the pain? Does it flare up on him? Does he go in, he plays a few snaps, and it rears its head again, and it's crap, I can't play through this. I need to be done because I'm running the risk of destroying my hip. And by the way, if your hip is fully destroyed, good luck being a pass rushing defensive lineman where you need to bend, because your hip matters when it comes to that. So it's one of those things that I think if he plays, he will look like himself. If he can't play, then he can't play though.
Man, I want to see it so bad. I want to see Greenlaw out there and Bosa and Hufanga. Like, oh my God, I would love to see it. I was out on the season and then they looked so damn good last week. It was just like, oh, that's right.
You're where I will be if they win this game and they look like themselves. I'm not allowing myself to get there right now.
Oh, fine.
I was asked by a coworker this morning, are the Niners going to win? And I said, That was literally how I responded because I said last week they looked like their old selves. I recognize that team, but it's also the first time all year I've seen it. If that team shows up, they win this game and the confidence goes through the roof. If that team doesn't show up, it's season over. So I can't, it's one of these games. I can't make a prediction because I have no idea what this team is going to do because they've been a hide all season. And then suddenly Jekyll showed back up last week.
I thought, wait, so Hyde is bad and Jekyll
is Jekyll is the doctor. Right. Hyde is the monster.
Oh, I want the monster tonight. Okay. Give me the rampaging team that was bleep you. We're going to smash you on the ground. We're going to smash you with our linebackers. And then we'll just laugh when we've utterly destroyed. That's the damn team I want.
You want to see? You remember that meme? Smash.
No.
You remember that? No, you don't remember that? Oh, there's a documentary about that meme because that guy ended up being a crazy guy. But it became a very, very popular GIF. And I say GIF for those of you out there that thinks it's pronounced like a peanut butter.
We usually give you best bets on Fridays before the game. Obviously, with the game being on Thursday, Michelle and I won't be able to do that. I haven't looked at these, so I'm just going to kind of do it on the fly here, and I'll ask you, Levin. This is an interesting one. Deebo Samuel rushing yardage. The over-under is 16.5 for the game. I think they're going to give him a bunch of carries. Will he get the 16.5? I don't know.
Under. Has he even hit 16 yards, once this season, I think?
He could hit it on one run. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, but he had 5 carries last week and only 13 yards. So it's not a good bet to take.
So his number is 16.5. He has not hit. Oh, he did it once in week 1. He had 8 carries for 23 yards. Other than that, he has not hit that over the rest of the season.
Here's the thing. He just spoke out and complained. I don't see Kyle responding to that saying, okay, you're going to be a running back. So I don't, you know what I mean? He'll have an end around or two, but he's not going to suddenly be lining up as in the backfield as the running back.
To me, what I would do if I was Kyle, first play of the game, Deebo orbit motion, play action to Deebo on the run and throw that sumbitch deep. That's what I would do. Use Deebo as a decoy in the backfield. They did it once last week where they faked it to Deebo. They handed it to Garendo and it worked. I think they should do the same. Use him as a decoy. Everybody expects a big Deebo game. Nope. Actually, bleep you. We're going to do it this way.
And that's what you should do because Deebo with the ball in his hands, if you can get the ball in his hands, is not Deebo. Deebo with his ball in his hands is like any other regular wide receiver this year. He gets tackled by the first guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So teams still think he's Deebo. The Rams are expecting a big Deebo night. He can come out with the boombox and do everything. Doesn't mean you got to give him the ball. Doesn't mean it at all. Guess what? You could win this game just like they did last week by 20 plus points and have an unhappy Deebo in the locker room after the game. I think the rest of us would be just fine with that.
If they win this game and Deebo acts annoyed or anything like that in the post game, it's a time for a come to Jesus meeting with him. In my opinion, it is. Kyle Shanahan needs to come to him and say, you are not a captain anymore. This is 2 weeks in a row. The team has won. We're on our way. We have a shot. And you're sitting here worrying about your personal accolades. You are not a captain anymore. And you better show it in practice this week or you will not be dressing next week.
That will never happen. He loves Deebo.
I know, but that's where it needs to be. Sometimes you got to punish your children.
I think that if that were to happen, or if Deebo were to be unhappy and the Niners blew out the Rams, I think the players in the locker room would kind of turn on him a little bit. It'd be like, hey, this is the second week in a row where we've saved our season and we're still talking about you. Like, dude, get with the program. I think that Kittle and maybe some of the other guys in that locker room, because they defended him this week. Kittle defended him. You know, Debo's going to go off. Brock defended him, said he's my best friend on the team. But that only lasts for so long. You can't keep being a malcontent. If things are good, you can't keep doing that. So it'd be interesting to see if they rally behind him next week, if they win and he still doesn't have a lot of production. And he complains.
And by the way, it might even be worse if they lose and he doesn't have a big game, because he might go off.
Yeah, he could.
Like, things could fracture. I have thought about this ever since his post-game stuff. There is the possibility that things fracture to the point with Debo that, the team is lost. They have no shot at the playoffs. Debo's going off in post-game, so they say, you can go, you can be away from the team now. You're done. You know what I mean? Like, there is the possibility of that fracture. I don't think it happens, but if they lose and Debo continues to not have big games and he keeps talking, there comes a point where you have to say, all right, we're going to play our younger players and Debo doesn't need to be part of this anymore.
Just looking at some more over-unders. Debo's receiving over-under for the game is 56.5. I would take the under on that, personally.
I'm not betting anything over with Debo right now. 4 straight games with 22 or less receiving yards. I'm not betting an over that's more than double that right now. It doesn't mean he couldn't have it. He could get that in a single play.
Right. He always could.
But I'm not betting that. I'm not taking a bet of him getting 2.5 times the yards he's averaged over the last month.
George Kittle's over-under, 65.5 yards. Please let it be over. Please, for the love of God, let that be over. Because I feel like when that's over, the Niners will win.
Yeah, that is a big thing. If I'm the Rams coming in defensively, I say that's what I'm taking away. I am taking away Kittle. I am making Jennings and Debo beat me. So I don't know that I would want to take that bet.
I cannot type best bets accurately the first time. I just can't do it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just tried to do it and I screwed it up. So now I have to take it off the screen.
Well, it's best bets is the same 4 letters.
I know.
It's in a different order.
So like
it probably throws you off. Your muscle memory wants to write best again.
Also, Isaac Garendo is torturing my iPhone right now because my iPhone constantly thinks I'm trying to type my own last name. So if I put it in a tweet or something, like, it keeps switching it. It's driving me crazy. First world problems. Juwan Jennings over under is 72.5. I think he hits that over. He has been killing it, man. Every time I feel like they have come to depend on Juwan Jennings, he has come through. Maybe there's been 1 or 2 times where he hasn't, but damn, man, I feel like he steps up. It's a primetime game. He's going to be pumped up. I will take the over on Juwan Jennings, 72.5 receiving yards.
That would be the first one that I'd probably go ahead and take the over. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be a great offensive game. But I do think that Jennings is going to be the one that gets the opportunities because they're going to cover the middle and want to take away Kittle.
Ricky Pearsall's over-under for receptions is 1.5. 1.5. I think I would take the under.
I'm not taking the under on anything that's that low, but I don't think I would take the over either.
The under is plus 100. The over is minus 130. So they're telling you it's probably going to be over, but I mean, God, it feels like for whatever reason, they cannot give number 14 the ball. If you had to pick a quarterback to hit their over on interceptions, which both quarterbacks are at 0.5 for interceptions, would you take the over on Brock or would you take the over on Matthew Stafford?
Depends on what the weather situation is at pregame. But if all things are equal, let's say there's no rain, I'm taking Stafford. Stafford, he has that history. He always throws an interception. He can have a 400-yard, 4-touchdown game, but he always has that one throw.
Leonard Floyd is plus 135 to have over a half a sack. I think I might bet on Leonard Floyd to get a sack tonight. Like I said, he's got 5.5 in his last 4 games, especially if Bosa comes back. I think I might take that over on Leonard Floyd.
I would take it due to the betting odds. Plus means
Yeah.
I'm taking it. If that was minus, I would not take it. But
It's
at plus 135, I would take that bet.
plus 135 for anyone that doesn't know means you bet $100, you win $135. So just
I'll also say that's one of my favorite bets to do in terms of enjoyment of watching the game.
Yep.
Because it takes one play, but there's also a lot of plays where it's so close to a sack where they're getting the pressure and you can see, ooh, my guy that I bet it to get a single sack is getting free, so there's a lot of excitement throughout the whole game. And it's not something like, receiving yards or especially receptions, where, oh, I bet that this guy gets, over 6.5 and he has 1 going in the fourth quarter. You're despondent. You didn't it's the final play of the game. I still have a chance.
Last one I want to talk about, and we always Michelle and I always try to give you one just kind of with really long odds that we think has a chance to pay off. And we've actually hit on a bunch of those this year. We've won some people some money overall this year. I have to say, Talanoa Hufanga to have an interception is plus 546. And I fully admit this is completely fueled by me remembering his pick 6 on that screen from a couple of years ago. He's had a game now to get back. I know he's got the club on his hands, which maybe it's hard, but I could see just on a tip ball, something. He's always seemingly in the right place around the football. I don't know. Plus 546. I'm not going to put a ton of money on it. Maybe I only put $10 on it and win $54. That'd be good too. I might go with that one.
Go home or go broke. Put it all on there. Come on.
I lost like every bet. Every bet I made last week, I lost. So just full disclosure. Like I said, most of the time we've been good, but last week was not one of our better weeks. Regardless. Go ahead.
I have been for a decade now telling myself I'm going to be disciplined this year. I am going to wait until week 3 when I have an idea of what the teams are and just start putting like $5 on every game to pick the winner. Because, I do pick them every year for free with friends and family and stuff. And I'm usually somewhere in the low 70% accurate. So if you're just betting on the winner, whether it's minus or not, hitting 70%, I should make money over the year.
Yeah, you'd make a lot.
Yeah, but I never can do it because every time I put money into betting, it goes, yeah, but if I do this parlay over here, oh yeah, this team I'm confident they're definitely going to win. So, and I'm also confident this team is definitely going to win. I'm going to tie those together to improve the, I can't stay disciplined and do it.
This just saying gambling is hard. Vegas doesn't have all those pyramids and palm trees for nothing. And we know we stayed in the pyramid last year.
You missed a chance to have an Arnold Schwarzenegger reference. I like discipline.
What's that one from?
From Kindergarten Cup.
Kindergarten Cup.
You like discipline. Talking to kids.
Oh, God. So you are not going to join us for the instant reaction show tonight, right?
Nope. I got to go to work here in about 2.5 hours.
Terrible job in a big spot. Biggest game of the year. I'll be here. Please join us after the game on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook. We'll be here breaking it all down for you. Please join us. I hope it's going to be a happy recap. Want to say thank you again once more to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Once again, if you want to sign up for BetUS, use promo code YouTube150. That's promo code YouTube150. Dre Greenlaw is back. Talanoa Hufanga is back. Maybe Nick Bosa is back. Allow yourself to believe again. Let's have some fun tonight, people. Come on. Let's do it. Hopefully the Niners get the win and go to 7-7 on the year. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. We'll talk to you after it's over.